Y'all know what time it is. It's a Brothers Got Next. We're back. As you probably know by now, we haven't been on in a couple of weeks. Some technical difficulties, just a lot of things going on. But we're back now, ready to deliver, give you that stuff you've been waiting for. D, how you doing? What's up?
I'm good, man. I'm just looking forward to next week for Thanksgiving. Me and the wife are traveling out of town, heading west to Arizona. So just looking forward to a nice, kind of relaxing, needed vacation. And obviously I'll be with, family, some family I haven't seen in a while.
Yeah.
So just looking forward to that. And that's really the only thing I have to look forward to right now.
What does the perfect Thanksgiving plate look like to Darian? What's on it?
Every year, because it's funny. I kind of lost my love for like the traditional stuff, like turkey, and
I feel like turkey. Nobody's really feeling turkey.
Yeah, I've never been a big ham guy.
I like ham.
Cranberry sauce and sweet potatoes. It's like that may be like on my second plate.
Okay.
My first plate. So my mom sometimes will make like stuff that's not normally of like Thanksgiving, right? Like sometimes she'll make spaghetti or she'll make
that's different. Okay.
Stuffing with like sausage in it. So I like stuff different. I don't really like the whole traditional stuff anymore. I like people that do like different things. Like I don't feel like you need to do the whole, it has to be a ham, it has to be a turkey.
Yeah, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, right. Just switch it up. You know what I mean? So I kind of like to get the stuff that's kind of like not the main stuff, and that's most of what I have in my first plate. Second plate, and maybe like the day after, I'll do the traditional stuff, like make me a turkey sandwich. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because I can only do the leftovers like the day after. Like once we get to like Saturday, I'm not doing leftovers.
Yeah, I like Saturday to me is like the last day. I'll do Saturday.
Yeah, because like once we get to the weekend, I'm like, okay, it's the weekend. I just want to be regular, like you know what I mean. Right. I'm not trying to eat at home. Like Friday, I get it because it's still kind of during the week.
Next day, yeah,
exactly. It's the next day. It's still good, but Saturday, nah. And plus, we're going to a place where some of the food places we don't have out here. So me and Ellie want to go to like certain
check out some of the fast food spots and stuff.
Right, like Del Taco, In-N-Out. There's a place called Culver's, which I've heard is really good.
I've heard of Culver's. I've never been though.
Yeah, so I want to go there. Of course they have In-N-Out. Like I know we're definitely gonna do Del Taco because Ellie loves Del Taco. So actually, it's the number one restaurant in the country. I don't know how that.
Yeah, I mean Del Taco's great.
It is, yeah, and I love it too. So that's what I'm saying. So we'll definitely do that. We'll probably do that actually when we get in Wednesday. That's probably gonna be like lunch. We'll probably go there for lunch, and then obviously dinner. I don't know, depending on what the family wants to do. Obviously Thursday is Thanksgiving, and then Friday and Saturday is when I'll try to I'll still have leftovers, but I'm still gonna try to sneak out and have other things.
But do you have to sneak out?
Because I how it is. Like we're gonna be there with older people, like my mom. They're gonna be like, oh, why do you have to spend your money eat here? It's like I'm on vacation. Like I still want to eat out.
Exactly.
So have you ever heard of this place called Papados?
What are they? I feel like I have. I don't know what they sell though.
It's a really good seafood restaurant. It's a chain, but they're normally only like in the South and like the Southwest, kind of. I guess I've had Papados 3 times. I've had it in Atlanta, Phoenix, and Arizona, and I've had it in Texas, San Antonio, Texas.
Hopefully, it's better than Long John Silver's, which I know that was your spot.
Well, dude, this is not. It's not a fast food. It's a sit down. Yeah.
I thought it was like a fast food seafood.
No, it's a sit down spot. Yeah, so I think we're gonna do that on Saturday. That's our last day there. So the whole family, we're gonna go probably there. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, safe travels to you and the fam. It should be a good time. As far as my Thanksgiving plate, mac and cheese got to be on there.
Of course.
Candied yams got to be on there. I'm a ham guy, especially like a honey glazed ham. Oh yeah, turkey. Yeah.
I'm with you. With you.
Cool. Let's get it rolling, man. So a lot of things have happened since the last time we had a podcast. In fact, Tyson, our boy Tyson, fought. 58-year-old Tyson fought.
Yeah.
He fought. Obviously, didn't really go too well. I mean, first of all, I fell asleep. I'm not even gonna lie to you.
I did too.
But even if I didn't, when I was trying to watch like the fights before, it kept freezing. So Netflix, it was a rough night for Netflix.
Gotcha. I'm gonna say this about the fight. I'm with you. I didn't really see the fight. I saw like highlights because I fell asleep myself. Yeah. I got this new gummy, bro. It's like
it's out of this world.
Yeah, dog. Like right, knock you right out. But anyway,
do you like that though? Don't you want to experience the high first, or you're good?
No, so you still do, but I do like I get bomb sleep. And to be honest with you, like I don't get a lot of like great sleep during the week sometimes. I don't know what it is.
Okay.
So for like the weekend, I love it, But anyway, I'm not big on what I heard after the fight. So I don't know if you heard this, but it was reported that there was a lot of stipulations as far as what Tyson can do and not do. So now when I'm like listening to that, I'm like, okay, so what was the point of this fight? Like, for instance, he couldn't apparently go to the body or uppercut. He couldn't do his famous uppercut against Jake Paul. So I'm like, all right, well, that's like his signature move. Like normally when you attack him, he reacts by going to the body uppercut.
Tyson uppercut is signature.
Correct. So apparently that in the contract it was put that he couldn't do that. So I'm like, okay. Then apparently there was also another stipulation where he wasn't allowed to knock out Jake Paul. He couldn't KO him. So I'm like, well, how's this a fight then?
How do you like control that though? Like if you hit someone.
So that's what I'm saying. So when I went back and looked at the fight, right, just looking at the highlights, I noticed Mike wasn't really like throwing. Like he would throw jabs here and there, but
looked like he was pulling some punches.
Correct. So now when I look back and I hear about this, I'm like, okay, now this kind of starts to make sense. So when people were kind of criticizing Mike, like, oh, he didn't look good. First of all, he's 58 years old. So let's stop with the whole he didn't look good thing. Thank God the man just didn't get in the ring and die. Okay. Right. So like, you know what I mean? So it's like, okay, why you criticizing a 58-year-old? A lot of people thought he shouldn't even fight in the first place. But yeah, when I hear about the stipulations, I'm even more like, all right, so this wasn't even a real fight. Like, you might as well have made this an exhibition. Like, how was this passed as a pro fight? Like, for a record, it's like, nah, this shouldn't count because Mike wasn't able to do what he wanted to do. Because Roy Jones even said, like, I was listening to some in the commentary. He was like, yeah, like Mike doesn't like. When I fought Mike, he was able to kind of do, even when he said he was still punching hard, he was like, he didn't connect on the uppercut, but he was able to do the uppercut and do certain things. He was like, I don't know why he's not doing that. But now we know why, because Jake Paul kind of put in his contract, he couldn't do that stuff. So it's like, so this wasn't a real fight. You know what I mean? Like, because I think obviously Jake Paul knew if he was able to do the uppercut, fight how he wanted to, this fight would have been quick. It would have been, it wouldn't went the full 8 rounds. And I think, I'm not going to go as far as say it was fixed, but it seems like it was because Mike normally doesn't go the full distance. You know what I mean? He either gets you out of there or he gets tired and kind of loses. So, and don't be wrong, it looked like by the 3rd round he was getting kind of tired, but he still doesn't, it didn't seem like the Mike I saw fight Roy Jones, like even that one. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Which was not that long ago.
Which wasn't right. It wasn't that long ago. It was like 2020, 2021?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know, man. I wasn't really that now coming out. It's just like, all right. Yeah. I mean, I'm not really giving the fight a lot of credence. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because like you made Mike hold back.
Yeah, and I'm not much of a conspiracy theorist, but from what I've read and what I saw in those highlights,
right,
definitely looked like one, like you said, he wasn't throwing the uppercut. Even and I think there were moments where even Jake Paul wasn't throwing as many punches as he could, because I think ultimately, like he definitely has a certain level of respect for Mike. Like he wasn't
correct. Yeah, and I heard that too. Right,
he ain't trying to hurt a 58-year-old dude. Like that wouldn't have been a good look for him to like knock out Tyson.
Right,
that's somebody he looked up to. That's somebody he idolized growing up. Like a lot of athletes did.
Right, right.
So. Yeah, I mean, I think we learned our lesson with these fights. Like, we should never go in there. And I had low expectations anyway. I wasn't going into the fight thinking, like, oh, man, like, we're going to see vintage Tyson. Like, nah.
Yeah, I knew that. But I thought we would at least see some glimpses of, like, him doing some of his old stuff. And then, like, what if he was able to do, like, use the uppercut, use the body shot, or try to KO Jake Paul? It could have been a whole different fight. Now, I mean, I get it. I think Jake Paul also didn't want to look bad because it's not a good look. Also, him getting knocked out by a 58-year-old.
It wouldn't have been a good look either way.
Either way, right? So I guess they kind of figured, all right, let's just keep it to where we make the fight kind of even, so we can just jab. You can hit hard a little bit, but let's let it go to full distance instead of like just making it a regular fight where let's see if Mike can knock him out. Let's see if Jake can knock him out. You know what I mean? But it didn't seem, like I said, it just seemed like the fight was kind of fixed. And yeah, like I'm almost glad and happy I didn't really watch it. You know what I mean?
So speaking of old dudes fighting, I don't know if you saw this, but Evander Holyfield recently called for a Tyson trilogy. He wants to fight Mike. Now, obviously, they fought back in '96. They fought again the next year. We know what the result was of that. But Mike has already came out and pretty much said like, I'm not interested. But I already know your answer if you'd want to see that fight or not.
No, I don't. I mean, Holyfield. We were talking about Holyfield retiring, like
When
when we
we
were
met,
like
when we met in college in
we were in college.
'02.
I definitely don't want to see him fight
No,
now.
that's in '02, bro. We met 22 years ago, D.
And I don't know if you heard too. He's reportedly has some like real issues from fighting, like neurological issues.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you saw the interview on the pre-fight when it was him and Lennox Lewis talking. I don't know if you noticed he wasn't hardly talking.
Yeah.
Lennox Lewis had to kind of lean in and always like tell him what the interviewer said. So it doesn't seem like he's like all there. Like, you know, he has some real issues from fighting that long. So I definitely don't want to see that. Like, you know, Mike almost died a couple months before the fight.
Yeah, I saw that.
Holyfield having the issues that I don't want to see that, bro. It's listen, man, everything I get it. Athletes, it's very hard to let go of your glory years of when you were big and you were the heavyweight champion, you were the world champ. I get that, but at some point in your life, you have to accept that it's over.
I think,
You know
but
what I
I
mean?
think this is more of a money grab, though. I think those guys have been retired for a while. I don't think Evander Holyfield is still hungry to fight. I think he's just
No,
probably
I don't think he's so hungry to fight, but he has. Remember, he's fought in between those years. You know what I mean? The exhibitions, and it's like, bro, what are you doing?
I think he saw how much Mike got for this fight, which I don't know the exact numbers. It was definitely in the millions. I think he's probably like, oh crap, I can get that much bread too. So that's my assumption. But
yeah, I mean, I don't think it's worth it for either one to do it. You know what I mean? We saw them fight twice when they were really not in their. I don't know what I was going to say in their primes, but you know when they could still really fight. I'm good. You know what I mean? I don't see a third fight. Even if Mike was to win, it's like, oh, you beat Holyfield when he's like not all there. It's like
60.
Right, exactly. And if he beats Mike, it's like, oh, well, yeah, you just beat him again. Now you just beat him as a old man. It's just, I mean, I don't know. It's not I don't think it's anything for either one to prove. So I'm glad Mike kind of came out and said, I'm not interested, you know?
So obviously we've seen them two fight before, but I'm curious if you could see any fight that never happened before. So hypothetical, what would you have wanted to see?
So I got a few. I've listed a few because I saw your question. I was a big Andre Ward fan, as you know.
Underrated. Finished undefeated.
Very underrated, yeah. I would have loved Andre Ward to fight Canelo and Triple G when they were all in their height. Because they're all around the same age. I mean, I think Ward is older than all. No, Ward is older than Canelo, but him and Triple G about
around the same age.
They never fought. I don't know why and how that kind of got missed because they're all in the same weight class. But I would have loved to see that fight when Ward was like at the height of his career, and same thing with Triple G and Canelo. I mean, obviously Canelo and Triple G fought, but I would have loved to see Ward fight Canelo and Triple G just to see how that would have went.
Yeah, I would have
because I think it would have been a good matchup. You know what I mean? Because the one thing about Ward is that he was very underrated. He had underrated speed and very underrated defense. People didn't really talk. Everybody was just talking about like how he was very precise and very accurate with his punches, but he was very like somewhat elusive and really fast. But they never really talked about that. You know what I mean? But I think it would have been an interesting matchup. You know, with either one, because him and Triple G both have the power. You know what I mean? So that would have been great. And then him and Canelo, just because they're two smart fighters, that would have been a great matchup.
Yeah.
So that's one. I think another one I would say it's hard now. It's hard because of their age difference, but I would have loved to see Crawford fight Floyd if they were closer in age.
My only thing with that fight is, would it have been just way too much defense and not enough offense? It's like, remember, I remember Winky Wright. Winky Wright's a dude, a very respected fighter. In fact, he was pretty big when we met in college, like the early 2000s, mid 2000s. But like, he was such a defensive fighter that sometimes his fights were just kind of boring to me personally. So like, I think a Mayweather Crawford fight would obviously be high stakes, but like, I'm wondering what the action would be. What version of Floyd are we going to get? Are we going to get pretty boy Floyd, who was a little more active offensively, or are we going to get Money Mayweather, who is a little bit more of a counter
Well,
puncher.
the only reason I disagree with you because I think Crawford early on, if you watch some of Crawford's early fights, he was like pretty boy.
Okay, I guess what
Yeah,
versions are we
right.
matching?
So obviously, as he's gotten older, he's more now defensive, and I get it because
Mhm.
he's older, so he's
Yeah,
not
yeah, yeah.
he's not as going to be as active. And then you saw with the Errol's defense fight, he was more just counter punching. He didn't really like.
That was a
Now,
massive
obviously,
pass.
when he kind of started to wear down Errol, then he started being more offensive. But at
Yeah.
first, he was kind of strategic, like, all right, let Errol come to me. You know, he's going to swing. I'm just going to counter punch. I think you're right. If they were fighting as older, you're right. It may have been a boring fight because they're going to look to counter punch.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? They're not
Counter punchers.
right. It's, you know, they're going to be who's going to throw first. But I think if you're talking about Pretty Boy Floyd and early Crawford, that would have been a great
that would
matchup
have been good
because they were both kind of the same. So it's like, oh, who's going to get the best of who?
Yeah.
You know, if I had to now, I hardly would go against Floyd, but even Crawford hasn't lost, so I probably would still give a slight edge to Floyd because I just think Floyd, even as Pretty Boy, was still so good.
A little more crafty offensively.
Correct, right. Like Crawford's crafty, but not like Floyd is. You know, so I give a little edge. To be honest, that's a fight I could see just going to a decision. You know, like Floyd winning like a split decision. You know what I mean?
Because Floyd, one thing I like about Floyd too, offensively, he's able to hit from like awkward angles as well.
Correct. Yeah, Crawford doesn't really do that. Crawford's very like precise. Like when he counter punches, it's like a straight. You know, he's coming from just the regular angle, so he's not surprising you with anything. But yeah, it would have been an interesting matchup, like both in their prime, like heyday. Like he was, like I said, when he was Pretty Boy and Crawford was a little younger. Because them older, like that Floyd when he was like 35 and the Crawford now, I don't know how that matchup would be. You know what I mean? So.
Okay.
What about yourself?
Yeah. You know, I got a couple. So mine is I'm gonna cheat a little bit because these two did fight, but they fought at a later age.
Got it.
I would have loved to have seen Prime De La Hoya versus Prime Mayweather, like that golden boy De La Hoya, the younger one that was really quick and you know, obviously a good defender, but a great offensive boxer. I would have loved to have seen that. So if they would have fought maybe like in the late 90s or early 2000s when I think De La Hoya was still in his prime, that would have been great. Another one that would have been dope is Tyson. And I think a boxer that had a very similar style to him in the 90s that was very underrated to me was David Tua because he was also a heavy, big time hitter. They're a little on the shorter side. I think they're both about 5'10", 5'11", which I guess that's not short, but for a boxer, a lot of those heavyweights are over 6 feet tall. But I think Tua versus Tyson would have been some big punches, man. That would have been fun to watch. I think another obviously Pacquiao had a nice run. I would have loved to see him fight like a Pernell Whitaker, like a great.
Right. So now you're talking about guys from different generations.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm just kind of mixing.
Yeah. So like talking about Pernell Whitaker, I think him and Floyd would have that would have been a great matchup.
That would have been a good.
They were very similar. You know what I mean? Like Pernell was obviously underrated.
Some people consider him like a top 5 defensive fighter ever.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
What always makes me upset about that fight he had with Chavez, he got robbed.
Yeah,
they called it a draw.
But Chavez was like,
but you watch that fight, bro. Just watch.
What I'm saying is Chavez was kind of had some advantages because of just his reputation, how his record was.
They called that fight a draw. That was not a draw. Pernell Whitaker won that fight. Like he was not just defensive. He was getting Chavez. Like he was literally like hitting him. And you see Chavez's face, you're like, how was this a draw?
It's crazy. I think didn't Chavez start his career like 82-0? Something crazy like that.
He did. Yeah.
First of all, that's nothing we're ever going to see again. 82-0.
Nah, because fighters are not fighting like that anymore.
Nah. I think the average. I mean, I would think a fighter now, the max fights they'll fight like 40.
Yeah, because I mean, some fighters are retiring after 35 fights. 30-something fights, and they're done. Like, oh, I'm done.
They're making so much more money now.
Exactly.
Like back in the day when like Sugar Ray Robinson would fight like 170 fights.
That's crazy,
dude, bro. They were fighting like every 3 weeks.
Yeah, like weekly, I heard.
Yeah.
Like weekly. Like, how you fighting weekly?
He's like, I got another fight this weekend and the next weekend. It's like, yo.
He had no time on the weekends. Like, he had no time to date. He was like, you telling girls, like, I'm too busy. I got a fight, I got another fight, and another fight.
They're like, well, didn't you just fight like last week? Like, I got another one. Like,
another one. Yeah.
And it just makes you wonder, like, how much, like, those guys were getting hit a ton.
Yeah, because they were really doing, like, Rocky-style stuff. There wasn't a lot of blocking. It was just, like, solid hit after solid hit. You're like, how is it? I mean, I hate to say this, but I think that's why some of them died the way what happened.
Well,
You know,
yeah. I mean,
the
even
Asian
with the ones that didn't fight as much had some pretty
right.
tragic deaths.
Yeah. So I mean, it's like for our entertainment, it was great, but for them, I know as they got older, it wasn't the best thing in their life.
Another fight that I think would have been really cool, and I'm kind of mixing and matching generations as well, is Sugar Ray Leonard versus Mayweather. That also would have
Yeah,
been
I agree because I think a lot of people they're always compared a lot as well.
yeah,
How
for
that fight
sure.
would have been. Yeah, that would have been a great
Mhm.
fight. Now,
Yeah,
as far as people that could have fought, I had some other ones too. What would you have thought of a Tyson versus George Foreman fight?
Oh, I got that.
Because they remember that Foreman was still fighting when Tyson, he was still fighting.
Well, once again, though, what are we doing? Prime? Are we doing like older Foreman or
So
like
that's the thing.
prime?
I was going to say the only thing is at the time, Foreman would. It was when Foreman fought Holyfield. So remember that Mike Tyson, who was in his prime, Foreman was still kind of older because he lost to Holyfield.
He did, but he did
lost
beat
on decision.
Moore, obviously. Yeah,
Right, beat Michael Moore. Yeah, so. Yeah, I mean, obviously Tyson versus an older Foreman probably would have been. I would have probably linked more to Tyson.
Tyson would have beat him, but I will say this one thing about Foreman is obviously he has one of the greatest chins of all time too. So like,
well, yeah, because if you watch that Holyfield fight, he lost by decision.
He was getting hit.
He was getting hit, but he hit Holyfield with some really good shots.
Well, yeah, I mean, one thing, he's so heavy-handed. Like, he's one of those boxers that, like, he doesn't even look like he's swinging that hard. Like, when he knocked out Michael Moore, if you go back and watch the knockout, he like went like this, and the dude just fell on the ground. He barely hit. I'm like, that didn't even, bro. He has. I've met George Foreman before. I went to a book signing of his in Vegas. First of all, his hands are like this huge of fist.
Right.
I'm like, I could not imagine getting hit with that. So when me and my brother Questy met him at his book signing, we said to him, we're like, yo, man, we're big fans. We love to watch old highlights of you versus like, Frazier. And he was like, man, he said, yeah, I was dropping some big hits that night. It was like, yeah, you sure were.
Yeah, so I would have loved to see that, like, now Prime Foreman versus Prime Tyson. That would have been electric.
I would go Foreman because
I probably would go Foreman.
It'd be very similar to like because they're not necessarily identical style wise, but like I feel like that would be like he would be like fighting Frazier again, like a shorter big hitter. They like to bob and move around a lot. Yeah, so I would have probably taken Foreman.
Got you. Yeah. Yeah, because a lot of the hypotheticals, when you asked the question, I was thinking of more of the heavyweights. Like I was like, oh yeah, like obviously I think we always say like I wish Lennox Lewis would have fought Riddick Bowe, but it was like Bowe kind of dodged that. I mean, Bowe had a time because I even said like I always said to myself, what if Bowe would have fought Tyson as well? Because he fought Holyfield. Yeah,
he somehow avoided every great fighter.
Yeah, I was like, how do you avoid that? Because like he beat Holyfield twice. He never fought Lennox. He never fought Tyson. Because from what I've heard, there was a rumor that he was supposed to fight Tyson, but I think Tyson, it may have been a time Tyson like was about to go to jail. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
he was supposed to fight though. But yeah, I would have loved to still.
I think Tyson would have knocked him out probably.
Yeah, and a lot of people say that. I think a lot of people would have still favored Tyson in that matchup. So
I will say though, if I could put, to me, from the highlights that I've seen, and boxing has a very long history. I mean, you can go way back in the day to the Jack Johnsons, like back when like we weren't even allowed to like fight in certain.
Jack Johnson, a lot of people consider him maybe the greatest boxer of all time. Not just the greatest boxer, but like one of the greatest athletes of all time.
Oh yeah.
Because I don't know if you ever watched that when we were in high school. Remember that ESPN Sports 100, like the best 100 athletes. He was like in the top 10.
Yo, he was a great fighter.
He was like, I think he was the only boxer in the top 10. Like, yeah. Remember, that's what he was doing. They were using no gloves, or the gloves was like very light. He was in like knuckle, like they were like in their bare fists. Like,
but what I was gonna say is like if I think the best fighter to me of any, if I could pick like the best person at his peak, the most talented fighter at his peak, I'm going with the Cassius Clay, like that 60s Ali, the one that beat Sonny Liston,
right?
Greatest fighter. That version of Ali, I think, would beat anyone. Would beat anyone, bro. So
see, I get to see Ali. I always said, I mean, the best fighter I've ever seen in my lifetime since I've been alive is Floyd. I think
that's probably the.
Yeah, I mean, he's just when you think about just defense, counterpunching, the quickness. I mean, he's the ideal boxer that everybody, everything he had. That's when you almost think of like the closest to a perfect fighter. You know what I mean? he had
I
everything.
also like Bernard Hopkins too. He's up there for me as
Yeah,
well.
definitely. See, the
Mm-hmm.
thing is, with like the middleweights, I feel like they actually all fought each other at one
For the
point.
most
So that's
part,
why
yeah, for the
it was
most
very
part.
hard to be like, oh, because the only one I could think of was Andre Ward, because I was like, yeah, man, Andre Ward never fought Canelo, he never fought Triple G, and I was
Yeah,
like, okay, I would love to see both those fights. You know what I mean? So
yeah, yeah. No, for sure. And I think one thing I will say, man, we're both obviously made like huge sports fans. There ain't too many things more exciting than a big fight. Like the
oh
big
yeah,
anticipated boxing match. Like
oh
remember
yeah,
how big of a deal and obviously De La Hoya was slightly past his prime. He was still really good. Remember how big of a deal it was in Vegas when Mayweather and De La Hoya were fighting? Like
oh
bro, it
yeah.
was so
I
anticipated.
remember when I worked at the radio station and
Hmm.
I worked with John Hanson, and he was telling me when he went to the Super Bowl, right? You know, it's a Super Bowl week, Radio Row. So, you know, obviously it was right. It was, they were promoting, they had just announced that De La Hoya and Mayweather were going to fight.
Hmm.
They said at Super Bowl Row, this is at the Super Bowl. This is, you know, you're supposed to be focused on the NFL. All eyes were on them. They were going
Yeah.
through, people were just like, in all, like, dog, this is actually going to happen. You know what I mean? So I
Hmm.
agree with you. I think it's nothing bigger than a
Oh, it's the
big
best.
boxing match. Yeah,
It's the best. Like you talk to all the homies like, yo, where you watching the fight at this weekend?
exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah, big huge deal.
Yeah.
I miss those days, man. Like every once in a while, you'll still get a big fight. Like I was actually pretty
Yeah.
excited about like the Fury Wilder fights, and like there's still some
Right.
every once in a while. Like, ooh, this is gonna be a good one. Even Spence Crawford, I was excited about.
I was, and I'm hoping we get next year. We get, you know, Tank versus Shakur. I think that's going to be
Ooh, that would
electric
be really good.
because I'm a big
Tank,
Shakur guy.
I'm not betting against Tank though,
I
man.
know you're not, but I like Shakur.
Yeah.
I'm going to give Shakur a little shot because he's the closest thing I've seen to Mayweather. If anybody can do it, he's the guy.
Tank is so dominant in that power, that uppercut. Oh, dude, he's legit as a little tank.
He is, he is. But Shakur's defense is out of this world. Like,
Oh yeah, that's gonna be now. That fight hasn't been. Is that officially
no,
announced?
it's speculated it's going to happen next year. I mean,
Oh,
they've been
okay.
talking for like a year now, and I don't know. Like everybody, you know, you hear different reports that one person's dodging the other, or it's really a money thing. I think
Yeah, it's just money.
obviously Tank
Yeah,
wants more money, and Shakur's like, well, I'm the younger guy. Like I think Shakur's thing is like he doesn't mind getting more money, but not like where it's like 60-40. He wants like maybe like 55-45. You know what I mean?
got
He
you.
just wants the money a little more. So who knows? You know how it is, man. With these promotion, that's what holds up a lot of these big fights. Is just the
Yeah,
money and
that's what it is.
promoters. You know, that's the problem. But I hope that fight happens next year.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Yeah.
But cool, D. Let's move on, man. Obviously, we can't do this podcast ever without talking a little NFL, so we'll get into that.
Right.
We gotta start with your boys. We always gotta start with your boys. Now they're not that
I
good.
don't know why. I mean,
Well,
it's
because they're always in the news, regardless. Because there's always something going on. Even if like this year they're having a bad year, but, like there's
right.
always something. And now, Michael Irvin was on the herd recently, and he talked
Mhm.
about meeting up with Deion, and one thing that he said that a lot of people are like, "Whoa!" He said that there's one condition that Deion would accept a head coaching position with the Cowboys. Obviously, we don't know that the Cowboys would offer him
Right.
that position, but
Right.
I wouldn't be shocked if they did. They said if they draft Shedeur, one, do you think drafting Shedeur would make any sense? And two, how would you like Deion as the Dallas Cowboys head coach?
Drafting Shedeur would make sense because
Mm.
Dak is getting older. Dak is
Now, Dak is
30.
still in his early 30s.
Yeah, but that's, you know, you're getting to that. You're not. That's past prime. You know what I mean? We've already seen prime Dak. So now we're getting into the later years. I
You
don't
don't
know.
think Dak is still in his prime?
I don't think so. No, I think.
He had a down year, but
Yeah, I think he's a little past his prime
he
now.
had
I
his
mean,
best season probably last year, right? In
statistically
2023.
he did. Yeah, I guess he did
Mm-hmm.
statistically. Yeah, but I think we're like, I don't know if we're going to see that again. You know what I mean? That
Okay.
year that he had. I think we're now going to start seeing more. A good year for Dak, maybe like 28 to 30 touchdowns, maybe 10
Which is
picks.
still pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Which is fine. You know what I mean? Like kind of what Russell Wilson did in Denver.
Mm.
I think you're gonna see more of that, like 20, like a 28, you know, I mean, Russ only threw 6 interceptions, but yeah, 28-10. Like that may be what we're gonna see from Dak
Okay.
going forward.
Yeah.
I think it definitely makes sense. I mean, Dak's been there, what? I mean, you're talking about 2016. He's only been the Dallas quarterback for 10 years. And that's about, you know, on par with what most quarterbacks are with their teams for. I think you have to. I mean, look, the NFL is a young man's league. You know, you're always looking for the next young person, and also it makes sense from a financial standpoint because let's just say hypothetically they draft Shedeur and they go to Dak and say, look, you know, we're kind of going to move on. You know, this is the future. You know what I mean? We'll obviously try to get a trade and work out a trade for you that somewhere you want to go where they're going to pay the contract, right? Well, for Dallas, it makes a lot of sense because you get off of Dak's contract. Now you have all this money as far as, you know, in cap that you could spend on free agency. And you have a lot of more financial freedom. Like you can go out and get people, you know, needs, running back, you know, defensive end, safety, whatever you need. You know what I mean? Or a second receiver. Now you have the flexibility to do that because that $60 million goes back and now into your cap. You know, that's a lot of money. So, yeah, from a financial standpoint, it makes a lot of sense for Dallas.
Now, would you want that?
I kind of do. Realistically, do I think it's going to happen? No, because Dallas, Jerry Jones, as long as he's there, he's going to find a way to mess it up, or he's going to.
Well, I don't know, man. That's a very close tie, though. That's a very close tie. That's Deion.
He's going to find a way, or you know, listen. This is the same guy that said he was all in and didn't do anything in the offseason. I'm not really going to believe Jerry Jones until he actually does something. Yeah, he to me right now he's all talk. You know what I mean? It's just a lot of he's trying to think the fans are stupid. And I can just say whatever and they'll believe it. No. You're not Trump, you know what I mean? So it's like, no, the fans are starting to see through you now. I mean, now I've been reading a lot of things on comments online and just a lot of the shows I'm watching. I think fans are starting to get hip that he's full of BS.
They're not buying it anymore.
Nah, they're not buying it anymore. It's like, Jerry, shut up. Like, you're not going to do any of that. So until he does it, realistically, I don't think it's going to happen because I was listening to The Herd the other day and he was going over the scenarios of how that would have to happen because they would essentially have to be in the top 3 picks. Yeah. And right now, well, they're probably going to lose Sunday. I still think they're going to beat the Giants and probably beat the Panthers, so that'll put them at about 5 wins. I don't know if the Giants are going to win another game. Same thing with the Panthers. We don't know. So right, you really have to say yourself.
I'm not convinced the Panthers are going to draft a quarterback, though.
Oh, no. I know they're not. But I'm just saying, then what I'm saying to you is the Cowboys probably won't be in that top 3. You know, so, I mean, the Herd was saying they should really kind of just tank and just kind of lose out so then they can have a chance.
Hard to tank in the NFL, man.
Say it again?
Hard to tank in the
NFL. It's hard, exactly. Yeah. But that's what, I mean, like I said, that's what he was suggesting. I'm not saying they're going to do that. I think more realistically, they're going to probably win 2 more games and that's it. And then you maybe hope they're in the top, maybe, and I don't know about top 5, maybe like right before 10, 7 around here. I think it's going to take probably like for them to draft, like, I'm sorry, not draft, to trade up to get them if they're going to do that. And my thing is if you trade up, you have to give up a lot of picks. So I don't know. I just don't see Jerry doing that. Giving up 2 or 3 first round picks to get Shedeur just to get Deion there. I think it just has to work out perfectly where he either falls to them or, wherever they're at. Right. He just falls to them and it's like, okay, now we can make this happen. But so the whole Deion thing happening, I don't think it's going to happen just because of what I just said. Now, if you're asking me hypothetically, would I like it? It's going to be a circus, bro.
Oh, I love it.
Because we're talking about two alpha males, right? Yeah. Deion's not going to back down from Jerry, and then Jerry is Jerry, right? I don't know if that's I don't think that's a recipe for success because it's going to be a lot of butting heads. I can see it playing out like how Jerry played out with Jimmy Johnson. Because let's just say for the sake of argument, Deion goes there, has success, he turns them around. They're in playoffs. And let's say even they go deep in the playoffs. They go by some miracle, they go to the NFC Championship game. Well, everybody's going to give Deion credit. Jerry's not going to like that. He's already going to be like
all the credit.
Correct. Once they start doing that, it's already going to it's over. Because then Jerry's in his mind. Jerry's so egotistical. He's going to be like, no. I can't. Especially have this black man, this black coach, give more credit than me. That's not happening. So I just think it's a short term. If it was to happen, you're looking at short term success, maybe. And that's a maybe. You know what I mean? Depending on who they get and all that, it's a short term deal. Because as long as Jerry's there, he's not going to allow a coach or somebody to come in and upstage him or get more credit to him. So I would say, yeah, if it were to happen hypothetically, if you're a Cowboy fan, don't get your hopes up. I mean, the only thing positive may come out of it is that they're successful 1 or 2 years, they may go to the NFC Championship game, maybe possibly the Super Bowl one year, and that's like okay, well, they haven't done that in 30 years, so that's a win. But Jerry will just find a way to mess it up. Like I said, it will just be a butting of heads where Jerry's not going to like Deion getting all the credit, and it's over before you know it. It's over within 3 years,
So as a non-Cowboys fan, I would love to see it because it would just be pure entertainment. Like I could see Deion with a little cowboy hat on. Like he'll be all in. He'll be all in.
Right.
Do I think it's going to happen? I think there's a possibility. I do. Now I don't know. Like maybe Deion could change his mind as far as like, they have to draft Shedeur because like let's say Shedeur is just not there, and the Cowboys don't have a high enough draft pick.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what I think is going to happen.
Right, or like I still think a lot of people consider Cam Ward the bigger, the better prospect, like slightly.
Right.
So what if Shedeur is either not there, and Jerry still wants to hire Deion? Does Deion still accept that job even if Shedeur is playing in?
Well, I'll tell you this right now: if that was to happen, let's say Shedeur's not there. Jerry still offers Deion a job, and Deion somehow does want to come, then that pretty much means that Shedeur or Deion and Shedeur are probably going to pull Eli Manning, where basically whoever drafts him, he's like, I'm not going to play for you guys. Like, I refuse to go there. So
I'd be surprised if Shedeur turned down like a Giants because that's still New York City.
Yeah, but his father has so much big influence. I mean, if Deion tells him, hey, I'm going to the Cowboys, I want you to be my starting quarterback, I just don't see Shedeur saying, nah, Dad, I'm good. I'm going to go to the Giants.
Do you see a world where Dak and Shedeur are on the same roster?
No, I do not.
Okay. I didn't think so.
I think Dak will just resent. Dak knows in the back of his mind, this kid is next up. Like, they're just waiting for me to get out of here.
And it would be too much. The second Dak has a bad game, people
exactly. The leash would be so short with Dak.
Oh, yeah.
Because it would just be like, okay, well, if he's not playing, we'll just pull him and we'll push the door in. So I think the best case scenario is that what's to happen is you tell Dak, if you get Shedeur, hey, we're going to trade you and we'll find a partner, somebody you want to go to where you'll be able to start and still get your money. And it seems like that need a quarterback that I think are willing to pay that price. And
for sure.
I mean, you just named one, the Giants, the Raiders. Who knows what the situation with the Cleveland Browns is going to be.
How about the Steelers? They only signed Russell.
I just don't think the Steelers paying that money. I think if it's the Steelers, it's going to have to be worked out with the contract of like maybe the Cowboys playing structure. Right, Cowboys playing maybe 75%, and then the Steelers playing the rest.
You got to remember, and not to cut you off, I'm sorry, but you got to remember the Steelers aren't paying a quarterback. So, I mean...
Right, but if you get him, then you would be paying a quarterback.
Right, so what I'm saying is they're going to have some of that cap space available. Now, they are paying, obviously, your Minka Fitzpatrick's, your TJ Watts, but they're not paying anybody on offense right now. Who knows if Najee's going to be back. They did decline his fifth-year option. Pickens still isn't up for another year. So they're going to have some money now. Do I think Dak could benefit from a culture change, from just a new scene? Oh
yes, absolutely.
I think Dak could do very well somewhere else.
I mean, the rumor is if the Shedeur thing and Deion was to happen, that from what I've heard, that this is just rumors. They're saying Dak would be willing to go to New York or Vegas.
You're talking about the Jets or the Giants?
Giants. Yeah, and apparently this is the rumor that it would be a package deal with him and Bill Belichick. Like, that's what I keep hearing.
We know Belichick ain't going to the Jets, so you're right.
Right, that's what I said. No, right. It would be a Giants or big, yeah. And I guess the whole thing, with the Vegas rumors, obviously Tom Brady's now a minority owner.
Yeah,
he has some, Belichick. I guess I didn't know Belichick and Mark Davis were cool. I guess that's apparently, you know what I mean?
I think that could happen.
With the Giants, obviously, he was the defensive coordinator when they won Super Bowls. Yep. So, they have that relationship. So that's the rumor. If all this was to kind of go down, that it may be like a Dak Belichick kind of thing going to whatever team.
I could definitely see Dak with Vegas, for sure.
Yeah,
and with, like you said, those Tom Brady ties and getting Belichick over.
Oh yeah, and I didn't really know. I was hearing the other day. I guess Tom Brady and Dak have a really close relationship.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, because I guess in the offseason when Brady was still playing, him and Dak would get together and, so I didn't know they had a close, so apparently they have a very close relationship. So they think getting him and then Belichick. I mean, dude, you change that would be you change that whole culture.
Oh yeah,
In overnight.
entire culture
I mean,
change.
you get a quarterback and you get maybe I don't think maybe the greatest coach ever coached football. Like, I mean,
that would be crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would instantly probably put Vegas. I'm not saying they win the division, but they're probably instantly a playoff team.
I think they could be a playoff team.
Yeah, for sure. I instantly put them in the playoffs. Just
and Belichick kind of comes hand in hand with a potential like Josh McDaniels, who
so one thing I give Belichick, well, you can criticize him about his personnel picks and his staff with rosters. He's impeccable with that. Like somehow always picks the right.
No, he did do that weird Patricia thing where he made him like.
Okay, so that one, that was the one.
He gets a pass on that.
Yeah, he gets a pass. Yeah, but for the most part, he always has a great staff.
Yeah.
So I would instantly put them in, like I said, at least as a playoff team. You know what I mean?
Sure. I think so.
And dude, can you imagine? So you'd have Andy Reid, Sean Payton, Bill Belichick, and Jim Harbaugh all in the same division. That would be insane.
Harbaugh's doing a good coaching job.
He is, but I'm just saying you're gonna have 4 of the Hall of Fame coaches in one division. That would be insane.
That's TV.
Exactly. So yeah, we just have to see what happens.
So you mentioned earlier that if Dak and Shedeur were on the same team, Dak would probably have like a short leash. Speaking of short leaches, the Jets owner Woody Johnson.
maybe right besides Jerry Jones is one of the worst owners of sports, but I
think Jerry Jones is a million times better than Woody Johnson.
Because at least now, I would say, I mean, if you're talking about historically, yes, but not
even close.
Yeah, historically, yeah. I mean, Woody Johnson's always been bad.
Oh, I love Woody Johnson's so bad that the second you say his name, an eye roll comes. Like at least Jerry Jones, I'll at least hear what you have to say. Like, oh, what's going on?
No, because Jerry Jones, people was talking about, oh, remember he used to be. It's always like what he used to do, but they're like now, no, yeah.
So there was a report that I don't know if Sports Illustrated was the first to report it, but there was a report that recently came out that Woody Johnson wanted the Jets to bench Aaron Rodgers after they lost to the Broncos. Now, let me just let you. Now, the Broncos, remember that was week 4, Darian.
They were like 2-2 or something, right?
They were 2-2.
Week 4. That doesn't make any sense.
Why would you want that? Why? And you know me, D. I am, and you're gonna 100% agree with me on this. I am not a fan of meddling owners. Why are you talking about? Oh, we should have made a quarterback change. You're the owner. I understand that you own the team.
Well, welcome to my world.
Yes,
I've been paying it, since I've been a fan.
Is Jerry Jones? No, yeah, Jerry Jones probably would have something to say.
Yes,
but yeah, bro. And I don't want to just use my favorite team as an example, but the Russell Wilson decision was a Tomlin decision. The owner, everybody supported it. A lot of people were saying, let's start Fields. Tomlin's like, I'm gonna roll with Wilson. And ownership, the GM, everybody came out like, that's his decision.
It ended up being a really good decision.
Yeah, that's his decision. But even if it ended up being a bad decision, they're not going to be
right. No, I got you.
Yeah, so I say all that to say, 1, what are your thoughts on when you saw that story with Woody Johnson? And 2, are the Jets the biggest disaster in the NFL this season?
So I'll answer your first question. No, I wasn't surprised. I mean, this is the same guy that fired a head coach when the next game they could have been in first place. Now, they didn't. Did they win that game or they lost? They lost to the Bills.
The next game?
Yeah, they lost to the Bills right after they fired Salah.
But it was a close game. I think they lost.
It was a close game, though, right? But this is the same guy that fired a coach. With the next week, if they would have won, I know they lost. They would have been in first place. This is also the same owner that I believe. I mean, let's just go over the passes he's made before Aaron Rodgers and Salah. This whole thing. I mean, we can just go through a plethora of stuff that he's done in the past of why they are the way they are now. Yeah, he's just not a good owner, bro. Like you said, when you hear that name, people mostly roll their eyes and just like, dude. I mean, it's arguably, like you said, he may be the worst owner in not just in football, in all of professional sports.
Some people say he could be the worst owner in New York sports history.
I agree. Yeah, I've heard that too. So it doesn't surprise me because these are the Jets. I mean, since he's owned them, this is how they've been. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Another old white man that shouldn't be making really any decision anyway. You know what I mean? What is he, like 70-something, 80-something years old? Yeah. Like, what are you doing, bro? And yeah, I mean, they just always like you said, you've been always saying it for years. They just can't seem to get it right. Whether it's
I thought this could be the year, man. I
you
like
said, whether it's the head coach, right, the quarterback. I mean, obviously, and I'm sure you saw the report. I don't know if it wasn't today, it was yesterday, about pretty much it looks like, the honeymoon, the thing is over between them and Rodgers. Like, Rodgers won't be back next year.
Do you think Rodgers is on a team next year?
I don't think so. No, I think since this is probably going to be the end, he should just call it quits. It's not worth it, because what team is he gonna go to that's gonna let him be like, oh yeah, well, you can revive your career here? I can't think of a team.
I can't. And
because there's too many young quarterbacks coming out. There's too many other quarterbacks that in other situations that are better. We just brought up Dak. Like, Dak's better. So, like, I'd rather
close right now.
Yeah, I'd rather take Dak over Aaron Rodgers, right now. So it's just too many scenarios where I'm like, well, where's he gonna go? Like, what team is gonna be like, oh, I want a 41-year-old quarterback over maybe a youngster you have kind of waiting because my thing is, if you're Aaron Rodgers and you have to be honest with him, this is not a long-term thing. It's going to be a 1 year, 2 year kind of deal.
Yeah.
And you're gone. Or, we're going to bring in the young guy. So is he, and his ego, is he going to be okay with that? No, I don't.
Absolutely not. I'm very curious how he's going to react to this story. I'm very curious.
I am too. I mean, I was surprised he didn't react to the thing that came out yesterday about, the Jets saying that, I think it was Rich Cimini reported that basically the word is that, that this is it. Like, the Jets and him are going to part ways.
Do you think there could be a scenario where the Jets cut him during the season? They're just like, yeah, we're out. Start Tyrod Taylor, we're out. He just. Do you think that could happen? I think it could.
Yeah, I think if it gets a little bad, like worse, like let's say they lose 2 more games, like another 2 in a row. Yeah, I think so.
Which would be one of the biggest disasters ever.
Yeah. So your second question about being a disaster, yes, they have to be, because just of like, from a talent standpoint, if you look at them on paper,
yeah,
you're like, how are they 3-8? Rodgers, Devontae Adams, Sauce Gardner.
He got all the guys he wanted. He got
Quinton Williams. You have C.J. Mosley. I mean, Garrett Wilson. I mean, how do you have
everywhere?
You're pretty at every position. You're pretty good. So how are you 3-8? Because you're the Jets.
Even like a DJ Reed, who's actually one of the better corners.
Exactly.
They've got talent everywhere. So, like, what's the excuse? Like, Rodgers got the play caller he wanted. That didn't work out. He got Lazard. He got Salah fired. I don't care what anybody says. He has something to do with that.
Right.
So why are we not just saying, all right, this is on Rodgers? I think now people are finally starting to see this is on Rodgers.
Well, I think that's why. I mean, I'm not going to defend Woody Johnson, but I think he's saying the same thing we're saying. Mm-hmm. Like, this is all happening because of this guy, and we did all this to be 3-8, to be the same as you were with Zach Wilson. So I think I'm not defending Woody Johnson. I still think he's horrible, but I think he's seeing, like, what's the point of this? Like, I'm gonna still continue to pay this guy, and we're doing this, and we're making him make all the decisions, and this is what happens. You know what I mean? It'd be different if they were 8-3. And, it's like, oh, okay, well, that's different. You know what I mean? Yeah. But they're 3-8. So, like I said, Woody Johnson's awful, but I kind of understand how he's looking at this. You know what I mean?
Oh, man, what a mess the Jets are. But you know what? They're one of those teams that people kind of like seeing them be a mess.
Because you're not used to them being, like, good or positive. You're like, oh, they're actually good.
Here's the thing, like, when's the last time? We've talked about this before, like how every team in the league has that one season. Like, they won 13 games this year. Like, it happened with the Titans. I'm just naming random teams.
Right.
The Titans, the Lions now, like all these franchises that were like kind of bad for a while that still have like, oh wow, they had a really good year. Like the Jets never have 13 wins. The Jets are the one.
Right. The years they've been making the playoffs, they were like 10-6.
Yeah, they're like the 6th seed, the 5th
9-7. Like, they barely made it. Like, I remember that year with like Herm Edwards, they like were 10-6, and
nobody was taking them that serious. Like,
the only year I remember they were kind of good, and they still didn't win 13 games, like you said. Is the year, remember when they won that wild card game against Drew Brees and LaDainian? They went to San Diego.
They ended up losing to the Steelers the next week.
Correct, right. So that year they exceeded expectations.
Yeah,
obviously the Mark Sanchez years with him and Bart Scott, Rex Ryan.
Expectations.
They went to the they were like 9-7, 10-6, but they went to the AFC Championship game. So those years they were fine, but they kind of, like you said, they did better than what we expected them to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But other than that, that's really it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
they're a hot mess. So we'll move on. So obviously the Hall of Fame semifinalists were recently announced. You got a couple of guys that are eligible for the first time,
right.
including guys like Eli Manning. Who are some of the other guys on the list? Give me just a sec. Who else is on here? Let's see. Luke Kuechly, Terrell Suggs, Earl Thomas, Adam Vinatieri, Marshall Yanda. So, question I wanted to ask you about that: do you think any of those guys are a lock first ballot?
I mean, Adam Vinatieri should be just of.
Yeah.
I mean, how many Super Bowls he won for the Patriots? I mean,
he's.
I don't know how you. I mean, he was one of the greatest kickers of all time. You know what I mean? So he should be a lock. The only other ones I looked at that I saw and I was like, I don't know if they're locks, but you can argue it. Like, I was looking at Earl Thomas's numbers and what he did. I mean, Earl Thomas was. I mean, those Seahawks years.
Yeah, he was great.
Very consistent, right? Same thing with Terrell Suggs with the Ravens. Very consistent. Maybe not like wow numbers, but they were just consistent.
Yeah, and Terrell
even Suggs like a Luke Kuechly. Luke Kuechly, you look at those years, very consistent. So I just think I'm big on consistency. Like I get the Hall of Fame, you want to see like kind of numbers that like pop out, wow. But I also believe in consistency. If you're consistently good for a 5 to 7 year stretch, I think that should count towards being first ballot because sometimes guys have like wild popping numbers for like a year or 2 years, and it's like, okay, that was great, but then they didn't sustain it. It was like, it was a very like inconsistent. Like, okay, they had that, then the next year wasn't that good. Then they have a good year. I believe in consistency. So if you're consistent for 5 to 7 years, I believe you should be kind of first ballot because you were consistent. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and no, I think that's a good point. And I look at a guy like Luke Kuechly. Luke Kuechly has mirror numbers to Patrick Willis, who made the Hall of Fame.
I agree, exactly.
These are guys that
they played around the same era, right? Didn't they play around the same time?
Same era. 2010s.
Right.
Like it's scary when you look at their comparisons. They have numbers.
And I'm big on consistency. I don't understand how some of these guys. I know we're going to get to that next question in a minute. Who people that we felt like who has not gotten in, and we don't understand why. And I look at some of those guys and I'm like, wait, I'm not understanding what they're looking at and what we know to be true, right? Like the numbers and being every year, you know what I mean? Like consistent. I don't get, like I said, it's almost like they're looking for like wow numbers. And first of all, like a lot of even the greatest players don't have consistently wow numbers. Like they didn't have wow numbers for like 2 years. And then, it goes back to like, oh, they were good. You know what I mean? It's not, you're not going to get somebody like, I mean, I'm trying to think of somebody who had, like, Barry Sanders maybe had some multiple years where he had wow numbers. Same thing with Terry Rice.
He was great. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But those are anomalies. That they're like, you can probably only name like 5 players like that. Whereas like most people in the Hall of Fame are just consistently good. The numbers are just, look at the numbers. You know what I mean? But I just feel like sometimes they're looking for this wow pop out numbers where somebody's doing that for a 5-year stretch and it doesn't. Now I will say your boy, and I think he won't be in just because of his antics and what he did at the end. The only person I've seen like that is Antonio Brown. That was just the numbers were just crazy for like 5 years.
He had the greatest 5-year stretch we've ever seen.
Right, and the only reason I say he won't be first ballot is just because of the off the field stuff, not really on the field.
I don't know if he makes the Hall of Fame.
Exactly, I think, or it's going to be like a T.O. situation where it's going to take him years to get in. But he's the only one I can think of off the top that was like, I'm like, he had, those numbers were just, whew. But most people are just very consistently good every year. Like I said, 5 to 7 years, you're like, okay, just doing what they know, like what we are accustomed to doing. So, like I said, under the Anna Vinatieri, I would say Terrell Suggs, Earl Thomas, Luke Kuechly, they should be first ballot. I don't know if they will be, though.
Yeah, and I think what helps Terrell Suggs is, 1, he has a Super Bowl, and 2, he won Defensive Player of the Year as well. So
would you say the same thing with Earl Thomas because he won a Super Bowl?
He did. First ballot, though.
He was a big part of that Super Bowl. I mean, he was a. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people argue he was the best player on the Legion of Boom. And that was an argument. I'm not saying he was, but some people argued that he was even. It was Sam Sherman, Cam Chancellor, Bobby Wagner. Who's another guy? Malcolm. from blanking on his name.
The linebacker. I'm blanking
Right.
on him.
Yeah, but a lot of people argue that Earl Thomas was
Cliff
the
Averill as well. Yeah.
right. That Thomas was like the glue and was out of all of them was the best player.
Yeah.
So, but you're right. I don't know. There's an argument that he's not first ballot either. You know what I mean?
The one that I'm very intrigued with is Eli, because we talk about Eli all the time, how they were very boom or bust. Like they were either going to the Super Bowl or not doing anything.
Right.
His numbers were okay. I mean, now
he wasn't a great regular season quarterback though.
He is top 10 in yards, in yards and
right.
But
I think that advantage because he played for a lot of years. Remember, he played for over like 15 years.
And I think beating those Patriot teams, man, I think he has memorable NFL moments, which I think matters. I think.
So do you think that's first ballot, or is that just like he'll eventually get in?
And that's where I'm kind of like, I think he could. And remember, he's a part of the media now. He's very well liked.
Right.
I think that stuff also matters.
Right.
But then, like, here's the thing. Like, if he makes it, then you're still going to have guys, and this will kind of go right into my next question,
Mm-hmm.
guys that haven't made it yet that you think should have made it. I look at a guy like Torrey Holt.
I was going to say, sorry, because I have that list. Yeah.
In fact, why don't we start with that, and I'll get back to my point. What are guys?
Yeah, so the guys that I don't understand who are not in are, I'm just going to go through, I'm going to list them, and then we can talk about them. Mm-hmm. Anquan Bolden, Steve Smith, Sterling Sharp, Hines Ward, Torrey Holt, Reggie Wayne. Why the hell are they not in the Hall of Fame? I know, I'm asking a very serious question. Go and look at all their numbers, and you tell me why they're not in the Hall of Fame. Because they have, every one of them has the criteria of being in the Hall of Fame. When you talk about, I remember Chris Carter saying this, like, what did he say? 1,000 balls, how many, 100 touchdowns or something like that. They all have that. Some of them even have more. So then
was one of the ones you said Sterling Sharp? I don't know if I heard you right on that.
Yeah, Sterling Sharp.
Yeah, I think the Sterling Sharp one, he just got, like, maybe just the longevity part. He got hurt, but he was dominant.
Yeah, but you know what? I'm sorry, and I'm not saying he's as good as this guy, but then if you're gonna say Sterling Sharp should have made it, so okay, I've always had an issue, and I know this may be a hot take, and you can get on me, I don't care. I always had an issue of Calvin Johnson making it first ballot because.
First ballot, particularly.
Yes, first ballot, because I'm like, well, he only played 7 years, and he didn't come out the gate having eye-popping numbers. It took him like 2 or 3 years to get that. So he had that like in the middle of his career. So really, maybe a 2-3 year span, he had, he was awesome. He was like,
now, he probably had the most dominant season. I mean, he had the most.
Right now, as far as one season, yeah, he had the most dominant season. But I've always had an issue of him making first ballot. I'm like, but the guy played 7 years, and
it's kind of like Terrell Davis.
Right, exactly. I don't. Those two, I've always been kind of like, I don't know if they should have been.
Terrell Davis though did win MVP, and he won a Super Bowl, and he had over 2,000 yards in a season. Now, I'm not saying that he's. And remember, he wasn't first ballot either.
Right.
A lot of people have issues with that one because, like, well, bro, he played like 6 years, like 6-7 years.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm only saying that when you're talking about Sterling Sharp, because if you look at Sterling Sharp, he was good out the gate. Like
he was
a year until he got hurt. Right. Like I know, right? Obviously, injuries stopped him, but out the gate, bro, he was already dominating. Whereas Calvin wasn't doing that. Like, go and look at Calvin's first year. If you don't believe me, go look at his second year. Compare that to Sterling Sharp. It's not close. Sterling Sharp was coming out the gate good. So, yeah, I mean,
Sterling Sharp, his second season had 1,400 yards.
Yeah, come on, man. And then, so if you're going to give Calvin that, Sterling Sharp should be in then. Like, how was he not in there?
Sterling Sharp's last season, which obviously he had injuries, his last season he had almost 1,200 yards. He had 18 touchdowns his last season.
Come on, bro.
18. I never really think of him. That's a good one because I think for me it's always been a longevity thing. But
you can't use that argument when you said Terrell Davis made it and Calvin Johnson. You can't use longevity because then, even somebody like a Kurt Warner, like he played somewhat long. And remember,
but the thing with Kurt is the accolades. He has MVP. He has a Super Bowl. Like I think accolades matter.
Okay, I got you.
Now with Calvin Johnson, yeah, I was a little surprised he made it first ballot. One, he never sniffed any. Not success unless you're a quarterback. Like playoff success don't really like matter. Let's just
right.
That's a quarterback stat because nobody's ever like, well, Barry Sanders never won a Super Bowl. Nobody ever says that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Now, yes, like you said, like Calvin Johnson had a very dominant stretch, but like, did he do it long? Like, why did he make it? And then like guys like Reggie Wayne, Hines Ward. Now I'm not
that
saying
were
he
very
did not,
consistent every
and
year.
he may have
Right.
had a higher peak than these guys. I'm not saying he didn't.
Right. I mean, like obviously his one season is probably better than any wide receiver.
Yeah.
Maybe
Oh
not
yeah, I
named
think
Jerry Rice.
statistically it is.
It is right. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? He's the only guy. I get that, but right. If you want to go off longevity, then no, I don't have a problem with him eventually making it down the road, but first ballot, nah.
Yeah,
That's why when people get in these conversations about the best wide receivers and top 5, I always have an issue when they put him like in the best 5 of all time. I'm like, I don't know about that.
Yeah, I don't agree with that.
Yeah, I'm just like, nah.
I think if you're having a conversation of the most talented or like the most dominant at their peak, sure. But we're talking like overall career. I'm not taking him over Larry Fitzgerald.
No.
Not taking
Andre Johnson.
No.
No, I'm not.
And then there's guys like Reggie Wayne that still haven't made it.
Right.
Steve Smith Sr.
Yeah,
all these guys have more yards. Steve Smith Sr. has more yards than him.
Exactly. So that's when I don't like when we get into that top 5 receivers all the time. Like you said, most talented, yes.
Oh,
but
yeah.
of like a whole career, no. It's not even. I don't think he's anywhere close to the top 5. I mean, I don't even know if he's top 10 if you're talking about longevity. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I don't know if we're talking top 10 all-time receivers, I don't know if he makes my top 10.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I'm like, people think I'm crazy for saying that. I'm like, bro, he's not a top 10 receiver if we're going off just career. He's, if you want to put him in top 15, top 20, cool. But yeah, he's not a top 10 receiver. I'm sorry.
I'm very curious what our listeners are going to think about this.
That's fine. Y'all can prove me wrong. Go, you know what? Go look at the stats and you prove me wrong.
All right, D. So a couple other things before we wrap things up, man. Obviously, this can just be a quick thought. NBA season is still in its infancy stages. I think teams have played maybe 15, 20 games or something like that. But just real quick, what's your biggest surprise so far? It could be good or bad.
Cavs, for sure. I would have never thought the Cavs starting 15-0.
Yeah, they lost last night.
I mean, they lost last night. I'm just saying.
In a close game, though.
Yeah. Right, exactly. I mean, they were right there. It wasn't like they got blown out. And they lost to the defending champ. So, in Boston, I'm not gonna get on them for that. It has to be the Cavs, bro. I mean, I would have, if you would have told me before the season, hey, I think the Cavs are gonna start off great and can possibly be a top 3 team in the NBA or even in the East, I'd have been like, oh no, I don't see that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I didn't.
I kind of think they'd be middle of the pack, like they'd be like 4th or 5th. You know what I mean? But I was like, that's probably the highest I would have gone. But for them to be 15-1, that's impressive. And if they can sustain it, and even finishing, like I said, even finishing in the top 3 in the East, I think that's a successful season because, I mean, remember they went to the second, they went to they win the semifinals last year.
Mm-hmm.
The way they look now, who's to say that? I mean, they could at least make it to the Eastern Conference Final. You know what I mean? I don't know about
I don't see why not.
Finals, but I don't see why you can't. So
you can't really trust a team like Philly or the Knicks right now.
I think you have to give a lot of props to the second stint with Kenny Atkinson. Like I know he didn't have, he didn't have a good first stint. Obviously he was with the Nets and all that, but he's a really good coach, and I think Mitchell has definitely stepped up his game.
He's been a good player for a while.
Yeah, I mean, he's been consistent for a while, but he's really showing out this year. Like,
I
mean, just look at the numbers and stuff. He's like starting to take it to that next level where we have to start putting him. If he's going to be, if he sustains this year, we might have to start putting him at least like, hey, he's top 10.
I think he's had that argument for a little while.
Right. I'm not going to put him all the way in the top 5, but he's getting close to that. If he can sustain that to say like, Donovan Mitchell may be, creeping up into that top 5. Kind of
see to me he's always kind of been in that like Devin Booker class. Like he's just as good as Devin Booker. I think that's actually a good argument. Devin Booker or Donovan Mitchell, Right. And I feel like a lot more people talk about Devin Booker than Mitchell, and I'm not sure that should be the case.
I agree. Yeah. So definitely the Cavs have been the biggest surprise. What about you?
I have a good and a bad surprise. I will start with the bad. So like I had high expectations for the Sixers this year. They're they're a mess. They're an absolute mess.
What did I tell you before the season? They are the team I told you, like how I used to think of Denver and Boston. I never trust them. I don't trust them, bro.
Well, you trusted them in the regular season, right? Like they've been. I did,
but I just like this is actually not surprising to me because I think eventually. Here's the thing: eventually, you can't keep doing the same thing over and over and thinking like it's going to work, right? That's what they keep doing. They think, okay, we could just turn it on and we'll be fine. We got Embiid. We got these guys. We signed Paul George. Tyrese Maxey's good. We'll be fine. No, at some point you're gonna have a season where it doesn't go the way you thought it was gonna go. Or it doesn't keep going the way you think it's gonna go. It's gonna be it goes off rail. It becomes a disaster, a mess. And I think this is the Sixers. Like I said before the season, I didn't trust them. And I know you were kind of joking, like, oh, anytime you don't trust me, they go to the finals. This ain't happening. Yeah, this ain't the team that's going to do it. Not like Denver and Boston.
Man. Yeah, so disappointing because they have, like you said, you bring in a Paul George. You still have a Tyrese Maxey, who's one of the ascending players in the NBA.
Right.
You have Embiid, who we thought, hey, he's not playing back-to-backs, which I still wasn't a fan of that. So, like, he's going to be fresh, but, like, it's early on. He's a great player. He'll eventually turn it on, but he looks slow. He looks old when he's in there.
I don't also like his attitude, what he's been saying.
I don't like his conditioning.
It's almost like he's turning into Ben Simmons when Ben Simmons was out on his way out of Philly. Just the things he's saying. Like I'm sure you saw the report today or yesterday about Tyrese Maxey calling him out. Mm-hmm. Because he was coming late to meetings.
Hey, bro, you're a professional.
You're coming late to practice. Like, huh? Like, you're the franchise player. You're making, what, $60 million a year? Come on, bro.
That's the thing about NBA players today. I mean, I sound like that old guy, right? Like, back in my day, dudes was making $8 million, $5 million a year, and they were playing 82 games.
Right.
It's like, come on, man. Like, these players are getting paid 10 times what guys were making back then, but I don't want to play back-to-backs. Like, first of all, that's when ownership needs to step in. Like, well, no, you're playing back-to-backs.
Right, we're paying you $60 million.
But I guess ownership is like, well, it'll keep him healthy. But then now they don't have any chemistry because he hasn't really played with Paul George.
So because I think when I was reading the report, those three have not been on the same floor together yet.
I'm not too sure.
Yeah, I don't think they've.
If so, it's only happened like once because I know Embiid played the other night. They lost, and like they didn't look good at all.
No.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm getting that thumb. Kind of random, but nah, they didn't look good. My biggest surprise, though, in a more positive note, is the Rockets. Man, the Rockets. First of all, Udoka is proving how good of a coach he is.
Oh yeah. But I said this last year to you, Kwab. I said, I know they didn't make the playoffs, which I said they're ascending, though. I said, give them a year or two. Because remember I told you, I understand Udoka had his personal things off the court and all that happened. We don't have to revisit that. But, I said, as far as a coach, him coaching, he's a hell of a coach. He's probably one of the best coaches in the league. He's doing that now.
And he knows how to coach young talent.
He does.
He had a lot of young talent on the Celtics. But, like, when you look at, whether it's Jalen Green, Alperen Şengün, like these young dudes that are just like getting better fast. It's
exactly. And I said to you, remember I said it last year, I said, just give them a year or two. They'll be right there in the mix and you're seeing it come to fruition.
Yeah. And Jalen Green is a young dude and he's already turning into one of the better young players in the league. Alperen Şengün is averaging 11 rebounds a game. Like even having that a veteran presence. It's crazy to say Fred VanVleet's already a veteran, but he is
right.
Having that veteran leadership. I think they're 10-5 right now. So
right.
And like I said, they were very close to getting in that play-in last year, so they were already kind of ascending. I'm not going to say they're going to do what the Thunder did last year and kind of all jump to 55 wins.
Right.
I can see them getting 50 wins. Why not?
I think they're a playoff team. I think we can probably say that.
They could be a 50-win team, which would be awesome and a great job by Ime Udoka. So
exactly. Another thing that's been a surprise. Well, maybe not to you because I know you love their star player, but just because of going off what happened last season to this season, the Spurs have improved.
Yeah.
Especially everything going on with Greg Popovich with his health. Hopefully that gets better. I mean, I think we talked off air personally. Like we think he should just retire. He has something to prove.
Yeah.
I think they need to move on and get a younger head coach and kind of establish a new culture there. But for what they're doing this year, as far as from last year, their improvement, they're making some noise. Like I can see them in the playing game.
I think so too. And I'm glad you said playing. I wasn't ready to say playoffs, but
no. I think the Rockets can make it to the playoffs, but I think the Spurs can be in the playing game for sure.
And Wembanyama looks like the best defensive player in basketball.
Oh yeah.
So that's a good one. One more team that's caught my attention, and it's interesting because they're missing their best player is the Magic because they haven't had Paolo Banchero. and they're not going to have him for quite some time. But they've still been
Right.
pretty consistent. Like they're still, I
Yeah.
think, a top 3, top 4 seed in the East.
I think we got to start talking about their coaches with a really good coach too, because this is 2 years straight. You know what I mean? I forgot his name, Jerome or something like that. I know he's a brother. You know what I mean?
Shout out to the NBA, Jamal Mosley.
Jamal Mosley. I'm sorry. Yeah. I think we have to start talking about him as one of the best young coaches in the league.
Yeah. Now, shout out to the NBA though, man. Half the league is coached by black, has black coaches.
Right, our brothers. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah. So that's
man. That's obviously early in the NBA season, but we'll see which teams keep. Obviously, the Lakers are playing well. I'm very happy with the job that JJ Redick is doing.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, man. We'll see how that goes, but yeah, man. Before we wrap things up, man, are you going to see Gladiator 2, you think?
So it's funny, me and the wife were talking about that because she was like, "Oh, we should go see it." But then hold on. So she's like, "Yeah, we should see that." And I was like, "Oh, you want to go to the movie?" She's like, "No, I don't want to see it in the movie theaters, though." So she wants something that comes on streaming. So I guess she was just saying she just wants to watch it in general. So I was that's what I was like. Well, I'm going to watch it in general regardless. Like, whether we go to movie theaters or not. So I'll probably watch it. I don't know if we'll go to the movies and watch it. I may have to wait till it streams. As most of you know that know me, I haven't been to the movie theater since early 2020, so we're going on 5 years.
Is it just like you're just not really a movie theater?
Yeah, and I it's funny. I really sat down, and it's funny. I was talking to Ellie about this. I said, you know what? In a way, I kind of get and understand why I don't go to the movies because, first of all, the movies are still way expensive. Like they're like $30-something for a ticket. Yeah. And I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, spend $60 just for the ticket, right?
Right.
And you're gonna get snacks and all that.
Yeah.
So you're talking about almost $100 you're spending. Whereas like, okay, I just have to wait 2 or 3 months at home and I can pretty much dictate how I want to watch it, right? Cook my own food or get food, have whatever unlimited snacks that I want, you know what I mean? For a cheaper price. So when I think about it, I'm like, yeah, I don't mind waiting for it to come on theater. Now I know the argument has been brought to me like, oh, but you go to see comedy shows, or you go to see a concert. Well, that's different because remember, they're only there maybe once every 5 years.
Limited. Yeah.
Whereas the movies is always going to be going on. So yeah, I'm almost reserved to the fact I may never go to a movie theater ever again. Unless it's just, let's be real. Like me, I know you sometimes hang out and randomly hey, you want to go see a movie, and I may do it, but I don't think me and Ellie will ever go by together anymore.
Yeah. And you talked about the cost, especially if you want to see like a movie in like IMAX, like you want to go.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's very ridiculous. But I think for me, I've always been I love going to the movies. I've seen quite a few movies this year in theaters, but I think for me, I just like I like the whole experience, especially when you go to these like XD theaters, like like Cinemark that have the speakers in your seats. And
well, that's what I was going to say too. I love the TVs I have. So on both of my TVs, in the basement and now in the living room, we have sound bars, and they're very great. Like, I mean, and they actually have movie mode. So like, when you're watching a movie, it's like you're in the theater.
TVs are equipped.
Yeah, like I've had my mom and aunt over to watch them, and they loved it. They're like, and you've been in my house. I have that big screen in the basement.
Oh, there's no question. TVs are more equipped now than ever to have a great at-home experience. But for me, I've just always been a theater guy. I just love watching an IMAX. I'm definitely going to be seeing that this weekend. Next podcast, I'll give you a spoiler-free review. But I'm just excited to see Denzel on the big screen in that. So
no doubt. And obviously, as you've heard, he's supposedly to be retiring, so this is supposed to be one of his last roles. So
he said that, but then. I don't know if you saw that recent report. They're going to come out with 2 more equalizers. How much equalizing is he going to do?
I don't know if I want to do that. Yeah. And it's not him fighting. It's not going to be him. He'll just show his face. It's like those like bootleg Steven Seagal movies they show now where it's the Steven Seagal. He's just standing there and there's some other guy like doing it.
To be real though, I'm a fan of him. I'm still going to watch him. So yeah, they're actually going to come out with 2 more. 2 more.
There's going to be 5
of them.
The Equalizer 10. He's going to be like 80. I'm like, okay, I'm not watching.
He's going to have like a cane. Like, yo, bro, you can't fight. First of all, how are you losing a fight to that dude? He's like 90. Get out of here. Come on, man.
Yeah, but what was you had a question though about what was the bet? I'm sorry.
I was going to get to that. Yeah, like when you think of when you think of the movies, like just the entire theatrical experience, I know you don't go much anymore, obviously not anymore, but like what movies come to mind first?
Wow. So right off the bat, the Avengers Endgame.
Oh yeah, that was great.
I think so. The movies I'm gonna name to you, these are all movies personally that just I don't want to get. Well, no, you know what? I'm a grown man. I don't care what you guys think.
Okay.
It gets a little emotional for me just to how I felt about the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like Avengers Endgame, that scene at the end when they all come out.
Oh yeah.
Like of the when the sorcerer guy does the little circle thing and they all come out and the women. It's just such a powerful scene. And it just gives me goosebumps every time I watch it. Like even when I watch it now at home, like I look at Ellie like, yo, this is one of like maybe the greatest movie scenes of all time.
You get goosebumps watching that, yeah.
Yeah, you get goosebumps. So that off the bat, Get Out.
That's a good one.
I think nothing's better than that ending part where the cop car pulls up at the end. You're like, oh man, he's about to get arrested, and then Little Rel gets out. And you're like, oh, he got saved. Like the black guy is actually gonna survive this. You know what I mean? So that's another great movie. I remember being in the movie there, everybody like clapping when he got out the car. You're like, oh, that's Little Rel. It's not the actual police. Obviously, the first Black Panther. I saw that with you.
Right.
That was another one that now when I see it, because just how big of a Chadwick fan I was, like. It gets a little emotional for me to watch it because I was the
second one was tough to watch too.
It was. To be honest with you, man, I've only watched the second one once. It's hard for me.
Yeah, me too. But I enjoyed it. I liked it.
Yeah, the first one I'll watch because he was actually in it. But it's it's just was such just everything was just done so perfectly in that movie. And it just represents us. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
and I'll give you two more. Another movie that I love seeing that there was Django Unchained with Jamie Foxx.
Oh, I didn't see that. I saw that on DVD.
Yeah, so I saw that with Nick. Actually, shout out to our boy Nick. I saw that with him in the movie theater back in the day in Brooklyn, and just a great movie. I love seeing us as the hero. You know what I mean? Like
always,
always, right? Yeah. In the last one, you may laugh at me. This is underrated. I like this movie in the theater because it was so like. I don't know if he's gonna survive. Is Deep Blue Sea when LL like stabs the shark and
man,
only him and right? It was only him that survived
because Samuel L. Jackson did not.
Right, and remember the girl didn't. Remember she sacrificed herself. The Caucasian lady. She sacrificed herself. So he really was the only one to survive. So that movie was great to watch, and it was like, yeah, he. You think pretty much the shark is going to be the winner here? Like, oh yeah, the shark about to kill everybody. So,
this reminded me. So the thing is, me and you have seen a lot of movies in theaters together, especially in college. Remember, we used to be in the theaters like every other week.
Right.
We used to go to that movie theater showcase on the Strip.
Oh yes. Yeah,
we've seen a lot. We used to see movies. I'm like, well, why didn't we see that in theaters? We what's that movie with like Steven Seagal and like Ja Rule?
Oh, Half Past Day.
We were spending our money. The money I don't know how I had money to go to movies.
Right.
I was always broke in college.
Well, no, didn't we get the student discount? Was it the student discount?
Oh, we did. So it was like $7. It was cheap.
Yeah, it was cheap.
But man, I'm just naming random movies we've seen. Van Helsing.
Brown Sugar. I think we saw one of the Austin Powers together.
Dude, we Talladega Nights. We've seen endless movies together.
I've actually seen movies with you. Like sometimes the second time, like I saw with somebody else, and I went with you again to see it. Like I remember I went to see the other guys with Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg. I saw that twice.
In Bristol, we saw a lot of movies together. We saw Argo. We've seen tons of movies together.
Yeah, we have.
One of your funnier stories. I actually wasn't there. First of all, why did you see this in theaters? I'm about to get on you. Remember years ago? Well, you saw Catwoman in theaters. I don't want to get into that. Remember you saw your story when you saw Stealth in theaters?
Okay, then I'll tell the audience the story. At the time, I had a girlfriend. Obviously not my wife. It was back in college, and she wanted to go. Now, I'm not lying. She wanted to go see Stealth. I was like, okay, fine, whatever.
Jamie Foxx movie, Jessica Biel. They're like,
right. I was okay, cool, whatever. Like,
Yeah.
So it was so bad, like the whole movie. Me and her just like making out, kissing. I actually don't even know what exactly happened. Like by the time we were done, it was like the credits were rolling. I was like, oh, what just happened? But
you should have just left.
I know, but I thought you were gonna bring up. I remember the story I told you about. I thought you actually were gonna bring up the The Chronicles of Riddick. That was also another one.
The whole movie was dark.
No, I told you I fell asleep. I like literally slept. That's the only movie I've ever slept through. Like I literally fell asleep, bro.
Oh my god!
I was before we met because I was like in 12th grade. But
I think that came out in high school.
High school, right? It was our senior year. But bro, I went with my cousin and her friend. Yo, I fell asleep. Like I literally.
I don't think, man. I couldn't tell you last time I fell asleep during a movie. I don't think I've ever walked out of a movie. I don't think.
No, I think you told me. Well, it is a count. I think you said when we were in college. I remember you said you took Abana to see something, and you fell asleep. And your
that was like a kid.
Your 3D glasses were like crooked. But like I said,
Spy Kids 3D.
Yeah, so I don't get on you for because you were there for Abana. You really weren't there.
I was taking my little sister to movies. That's right.
Because I remember you told me you're like, dog, I look terrible. You like my thing was crooked.
Yeah, that was a hot mess. Well, she was like 6. So.
Exactly, right. And that's what I said. I just wanted to get on you. I'm like, well, you went for her. You know what I mean? But yeah, so I've actually seen 2 movies that I probably should have walked out on.
You see, the thing is, the movies are too expensive now to walk out on. I'm like, well, I already paid $20. I'm just saying, like, whatever.
Exactly.
And like, I think now too, like I'm watching, like I see the reviews, like I'm gonna make sure the movie's actually like good. Like, oh, okay, I heard this is good.
Now I will say your brother, like Kwesi, has had some of the funny stuff because he's actually walked out of films.
Like he doesn't like over the top action. Like he hates all the Fast and Furiouses. He doesn't like the Die Hard with Bruce Willis was hanging on to the fighter jet. Like he's not.
To be honest, I was one of the best. I love that Die Hard, but I know he said he walked out. He said when it happened, he walked out. But I love that. I love that.
Why would you walk out at that part? The movie's over in like 15 minutes.
I know, and like I said, I thought that's one of the best Die Hards to me. Like
that's Die Hard.
The only Die Hard I didn't like was the one he did with his son. Remember that last one?
The last one. I think that was the last one.
Yeah, that was awful. Yeah, that one wasn't good. But the one with what's my man's name?
Justin Long.
Justin Long. Yeah, I love that Die Hard.
Did we see that in theaters together? I think we did.
We did. Yeah, I did. And I remember you said Kwesi walked out one of the Fast. I think that's the one when they were in the tank. He was like, "Yeah, I'm out."
Well, one of them they were in space. It's like what's going on? But you know what? I can't get on people for those movies. Like people are feeling them, and like I like some of them, but I'm good on that.
But you're like behind on them, right? You haven't seen even the recent.
Yeah, I think the last one I saw was 8.
Okay, gotcha.
But I'm
well, I think finally it's going to end because they had 10, but it's going to be a part 2 to the 10, and then it's supposed to be it.
Yeah, one of my friends that came to was at my wedding. It came out my wedding weekend, so May of last year. She's like a huge Fast and Furious fan, so she's like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna see it like right before your wedding, then I'm gonna come to your wedding." I'm like, "Wow," she wasn't messing around. Like she's a huge fan, but like, yeah, people are really into that series. But real quick, the movies that really captivated me in theaters.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, yeah.
I think of like Dark Knight. Man, I was really excited about that. Like that was like, especially seeing like the Joker, and remember he had passed before the movie came out.
Right.
So, like, I was really excited about that, and and I saw that with my dad too. So that's
my favorite one out of that series is the one with Bane. That's probably my favorite.
Oh, Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah, that's probably out of that series. Yeah,
I actually think I like the first one the best. I like the first.
Actually, that's the one I like the least. So it probably goes in order, like Rises, the one with Joker, and then the first. I guess the first Christian Bale one.
Yeah. So the first Avengers, I saw that in Bristol, and we had advanced tickets to see that.
That was great. That was a good movie.
Yeah, we had advanced tickets for that, so I saw it like a week before anybody else did. That was great. I gotta give a shout out to Titanic. I saw that.
So I saw that on videotape from Blockbuster.
Remember that's when it had 2 tapes.
Exactly, that's what I did. Yeah, I didn't see it in the theaters.
That's crazy. You had to it'll say on the screen put in second tape. Like the kids these days will never know what that even looks like.
Yeah, they don't know what we're talking about right now. Like if you even a 21, they're like, well, what is that?
Yeah, another great movie in theaters was Top Gun Maverick. That was a really cool movie.
Right, you told me. I did like. I mean, me and Ellie watched it.
Awesome
on Paramount. Yeah, but it was a good movie.
Yeah, and of course Gladiator. Yeah, Gladiator too.
Yeah, just to interrupt you a little bit. You know that you saw the new advertisement. Suppose the last Mission Impossible is coming out next year.
I'm behind on those two. I'm like,
yeah. So this is supposed to be the final one. Like he even came out and said it. He's like, this is going to be it.
Yeah, but the first Gladiator was an awesome theater.
Oh yeah, I didn't see that in the theaters either. I saw that on.
Oh yeah, that's
I think.
Yeah. Oh, and I got to give a shout out to one more. Independence Day in theaters was great.
Did I see that in theaters? No, I didn't see Independence Day in theaters either.
Independence Day in theaters. Wow.
I did not. Nah,
that movie. Remember how big that movie was? A big deal when it came.
Yeah.
out.
So when I was younger, I'm gonna be real. I don't want to say I was a little weird. I didn't always see all the blockbusters. I actually saw movies that I just it was weird. I was into certain movies, and I would go to the theater and see. I wasn't always into the blockbusters. Like for instance, I didn't see like Wild Wild West when it came out. I saw that on like DVD, or on cable or something. I didn't always go like, oh man, I gotta go see that blockbuster. And remember, like I was living with my parents, so it was like, I only saw certain movies sometimes. Like, oh yeah, I'll see that on tape. But
in college, we definitely saw a lot of movies in theaters.
Oh yeah, so I was gonna say high school and college is when I started to see all the blockbusters, like all the big movies. I'd go see them, but yeah, when I was like younger, like middle school, grammar school, I wasn't really seeing a lot of blockbusters.
Yeah, and I think the movies I saw this summer, I think I saw like 4 or 5. I saw Bad Boys, I saw Twisters, I saw that movie Blink Twice with Zoe Kravitz.
So I haven't seen that because I've seen Bad Boys and I saw that at home, and the other one, what'd you say, Bad Boys and Twister? Yeah, I saw that.
I'm trying to think of, man, I can't think of any other movies I saw this summer, but yeah, I'm trying to think. But I'm like I said, definitely seeing Gladiator. Gonna give y'all a review.
Okay.
And, yeah, man. Gotcha. But D, that'll do it for another episode, man. And we'll keep you guys informed if we're going to do an episode Thanksgiving week. Obviously, we both have some traveling plans. So
yeah, for sure. But if we don't, I hope for the whole audience, ladies and gentlemen, everybody, have a happy Thanksgiving. If we do not have a show, we wish everybody happy Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving's always a good time. Spend time with your family, watch football. For me, it's going to be misery because I'm watching my Cowboys play.
Oh, my gosh.
The Giants, which is like, they're both bad.
That has to be one of the worst matchups in Thanksgiving.
Exactly. Maybe in Thanksgiving history. So, yeah. But it's just a good time, your family, watching football. Yeah. Like Kwab said, me and my wife will be traveling. So, definitely looking forward to that. But like I said, if we don't have a show, definitely wish you guys a happy Thanksgiving. We'll be back the week after.
Yeah, and we'll have some content on our on our IG page just to kind of keep you guys in the just to have some activity. So
right, there you go. See you
again next time, man. Peace.